On July 22, 1994, the Gambia awoke to the sound of gunfire and uncertainty.
After capturing Fajara barracks, you brought the soldiers from Mile 2 and paraded them at the field.
Correct.
And you targeted the ringleaders for execution, that is Dotfal and Basiru Baro.
Correct.
And under your order, members of the council and the soldiers behind you opened fire at these individuals. They died.
Correct.
Yourself and the members of the council are fully responsible for those killings.
I am responsible since I was the commander on the ground.
A group of young soldiers had seized power, overthrowing a democratic government that had ruled for 3 decades. At the heart of this revolution was a man named Sana B. SABALLY, bold, determined, and ruthless.
The situation
Okay.
surrounding July 22nd.
Right.
You have told us that there was corruption in the country, there was tribalism, there was political intolerance, and all those ills
Correct.
in our society, which compelled you to organize a coup d'etat.
Right.
Can you tell us how this coup d'etat was organized? Who was involved? What were the plans and all that?
Okay. The last straw that broke the camel's back was once I was in a taxi coming from Banjul to Brikama, and then it was 5 o'clock. BBC focused on Africa, Robin White at the time, and then he posed a question: which country has its defense in the hands of another foreign country? And then when the answer came, it was like with laughter. I felt disgraced because I was in uniform in the taxi. And from there on, I said to myself, we have to look at this situation properly. We cannot continue the way we are in the military. And then I started to talk to Edward Singate. And then we started looking at it together. We put our heads together. It took some time, of course. It took some time, of course.
When did that happen?
This would be 7 months to July 22nd.
Good, proceed.
And along that line, we had to open up to the people or the soldiers and officers whom we felt we could approach and understand our point of view.
Who were they?
These are many. For example, Ndur Cham, for example.
What was his rank at the time?
Ndur Cham was a captain at the time.
And who else?
A major.
Okay, tell us first more senior officers and the immediate senior officers and then your level. And those
Said we are trying to find a better team together, a solid team, secretive and determined. And this took us almost 7 months to get to a point where we had a particular team, a closely knitted team together. That was myself, Second Lieutenant Sana B. SABALLY, Second Lieutenant Edward Singate, Second Lieutenant Sadibu Hydra, Second Lieutenant Yankubu Toure, Lieutenant Yaya Jamme, I think Major Ndur Cham, Second Lieutenant Alaji Kante, Second Lieutenant Alpha Kinte, and Lieutenant Basiru Baro.
any captains involved?
No.
Do you know a person called Captain Mamad Cham?
I know him very well.
Was he part of it?
I would not say, in another I can say yes or no, but here from my own side, no.
Let's not divide it according to sides. Let's put all sides together.
Okay.
Was he part of it?
To my knowledge, no.
What do you mean by that? I'm watching your words. To my knowledge, no.
Right.
Did you receive information as to whether he was part of it?
No.
Did you discuss his involvement or potential involvement with anybody?
At the preparation and planning stage, no.
At other stages?
On the 22nd July, Edward Singate came with the information.
That what?
He would be part of us.
he would be or already was part
No,
of it?
he could be part of us. It was a suggestion. If we could cope him in.
Do you know whether Singate had informed him
This
and sought, just hear the question,
Yeah, please.
and sought his blessing or support before 22nd July?
this I wouldn't know because Edward had never told me.
Okay. So, but as far as you're concerned, on the eve of the coup, the most senior officer involved was Nur Cham.
2 days before.
Up to 2 days before,
Right.
it was Nur Cham.
Okay, now that would be on Wednesday.
So can you tell us quickly a bit about the planning? We have 1 minute to the
Okay.
first break.
On Wednesday, this would be on the 20th, if I'm right. We had our last meeting to wrap up things together. And then because Jawara was supposed to come back the next day. So actually we wanted to stage the coup on the 21st, right from the airport. So we went to have our final meeting.
Where was that held?
This was at Fajara, at the beach side, where Jame was staying, the military office at the time.
Military
the
police.
paramilitary,
Okay.
military police, so to say, exactly.
Who was in attendance at that meeting?
It was myself, Lieutenant B. SABALLY, Second Lieutenant B. SABALLY, Captain Lieutenant Sadibu Hydra, Lieutenant Yanko Ture was in Farafeni already. Lieutenant Jame, Ndur Cham,
How about Minte?
Second Lieutenant Edward Singate.
How about Minte?
No.
What happened to him?
Which Minte?
Lieutenant Minte?
No, he was never part of it. Never.
No. Kinte, I mean to say. Kinte.
Okay, before all these days, up to this point in time, along the way, they dropped out. For example, Lieutenant Basiru Barrow, came and said, I cannot take part anymore, and he was out. On this particular day also, Ndur Cham said he wouldn't take part in it. In fact, I could remember on this particular day, he came with his shirt turned upside down until Jame Yaya was making the joke between Sered and the Jolas.
Saying what?
And in Wolof, yaw da nga toy naka nga wolbati ko sambu wabi. Mom, okay, he came in a hasty, dafa joge home in a hasty because his wife was giving him trouble, and then yeah, he came like that.
To many, he was the face of the new order. To others, he was the symbol of fear.
We thank you very much.
In your documents, in your write-ups that you provided us, you have also listed some reasons as to why there was a coup d'etat.
Right.
And I'll just read out some snippets
Okay.
and get you
In line.
to weigh in on that.
Okay.
Here in one paragraph, because what I have may be different from what you have in terms of the arrangement. You said there was political intolerance, oppression, and autocracy to the last degree,
Right.
and the mere readiness of the Gambia armed forces to enforce their rights as Gambian citizens only resulted in a change of government without any bloodshed.
Correct.
So your view of the political situation at the time was that there was political intolerance,
Right.
oppression, and autocracy.
Right.
Do you still hold that view?
Of course, at that time, 100%.
Thank you very much. We would switch back to Mandinka at some stage.
Okay.
At some point, also in your write-up, you said as follows, quote, "We felt if we want to live, we have to fight." In brackets, from the saying, if you keep pouring water in a rat hole, the rats will come out fighting.
Correct.
That is your statement. So you think you were pent up in some rat hole and water was being poured in and you had to come out. You were compelled, as you believe,
Right.
to change the democratically established order.
Correct.
That's your position.
Correct.
You have also indicated that the GNA must have the courage of its convictions and find violations where they existed and correct them, to preserve life and the dignity of the human being and to limit suffering.
Correct.
So in a sense, you arrogated to yourself the responsibility to be the watchman of the country, to see where violations existed and you correct them.
Correct.
Was that really the role of the military?
We did not arrogate this to ourselves, but from the Constitution. We believe in any genuine democracy, the Constitution is the supreme law. And we, as the Armed Forces of the Gambia, coupled with our Gambia Armed Forces Act, we had a duty, a bounden duty, to help preserve the country, protect our national integrity.
Yes, that is true. But protecting the national integrity,
right,
and protecting the sovereignty of the country,
right,
is in fact not to hold coup d'etats, is in fact to protect the country from external aggression,
okay,
and not to interfere
in the internal matters?
In internal matters, and
correct,
not to be the custodian of law and order.
Point of correction.
Please go ahead.
The Gambian National Army is not only there to help the country or to help the country to defend itself in terms of external aggression. Before you can defend an external aggression, you have to defend yourself. And as I said, the Constitution was there for everybody. We are not there ready to salute any individual who was not there to uphold the Constitution. If you break the law, why do we have to uphold that law when you are the custodian of that law, when you are the people who promulgated those laws?
I just wish to understand the mindset,
okay,
that led to the coup d'etat. So was it, or is it your view that as soldiers it was your responsibility to correct wrongs in the society? Was it your responsibility to find violations where they existed and to correct them?
Okay, if we would say in the society, that would be far-fetched, or that would be a wide net. But as I said here, we were only dealing with the government directly. And we had the Gambian National Armed Forces Act, where we are all sworn in to uphold our duties to the nation, not to any individual or a particular group of people.
That is accepted. That is what you are expected to do.
Right.
But of course, you would agree that it would be too much of a stretch,
right,
to give to yourselves or to think that it is your responsibility as soldiers to find violations that exist in our society and to correct them.
If we had not done that, we would have failed the nation.
But so you still maintain that that's your responsibility?
It is our responsibility.
All right. But that is the mindset, of course,
exactly,
that led to the coup.
Exactly.
You also said in your writings that the GNA's role was to make the government not to let standards be watered down,
right,
to suit only members of government,
encouraged
by the fact that the outside world was watching.
Exactly.
So you thought that it was also your responsibility to be a check on the government in the event that standards were coming down.
Of course. Any government that has not check and balances, forget it.
So your view is that the armed forces have that responsibility?
At this particular point in time, we had only the army that could have come in and helped. No other constitutional institution would have helped, not the elections.
Long before he became one of the Gambia's most feared men, Sana SABALLY was just a young boy with a dream. He grew up in a nation that valued loyalty and discipline, where service in uniform was a badge of honor. Ambitious and intelligent, Sana joined the Gambia National Army, rising quickly through the ranks. His commanding presence made him a natural leader. But destiny had plans that would test him in ways he could never imagine. In July 1994, a small group of junior officers decided to take control of the nation. Their justification: corruption, poverty, and hopelessness within the ranks. Sana SABALLY became the vice chairman of the Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council, second only to Yahya Jammeh. In the early days, he was celebrated as courageous, outspoken, unafraid. But courage soon turned to control, and control into fear. Detainees were rounded up. Voices of dissent disappeared. Fear became the new law. Sana SABALLY's name struck both respect and terror throughout the land.
And this is what we did on the 22nd July.
And by holding the government accountable, you thought you have to overthrow that constitutionally elected, democratically elected government.
It was a democratically elected government, but if I would ask, we don't know how many times we've tried to get in touch with the government directly for talking. Everything failed. The Minister of Defense, we never had the chance to talk with him.
Yeah,
And I believe
that may all be right, but what we want to understand is how the junior officers who carried out the coup understood their responsibilities as junior officers, how you understood your responsibilities to the nation. Because if this is the view that the soldiers or officers at your position would hold today, don't you think it would be fearful for Gambia?
fear could, yeah, you're 100% right. If the same situation is there again, I believe the nation will get up and tell the government, hey, go.
But Mr. SABALLY,
right.
Can't you distinguish these two? The nation, the people,
yeah.
civil society getting up or rising up against the government is different from the military taking it upon itself to overthrow a constitutionally established order. Don't you see the difference in the two?
Unless if you want to tell me the military is not a citizen of this country.
Yes, the military are citizens of
Correct.
the country. But the military, it's excluded from direct participation in the politics.
100% correct.
So therefore, you cannot descend in the realm of politics to try to correct the wrongs in the society.
When things go abnormal, you follow those abnormalities.
So you also become abnormal.
Right, correct.
And
if we would understand it that way, because I want you to understand, we were exercising our bounden duty as the military. And in exercising our duty, we felt it necessary to remove the government so that we institute another government.
So this discussion is just to understand the mindset.
Correct.
Why the soldiers did what they did. And if this is the mindset that still exists in the army, perhaps maybe you are right that Gambians need to be fearful. And maybe this is one issue that would need to be corrected. The mindset of the soldier in the Gambia National Army should be reoriented in the right direction so that we would not have coup d'etats again. Because what you are saying,
okay, if
that is right, if that is the mindset of the officer in the Gambia National Army, then we are at the mercy of the army. There would be unending coup d'etats in this country. Don't you think?
Point of correction. No.
Go ahead.
This would not be the mindset of the military. It has never been. It was an occasion. If you have a cancer and you go to the hospital, it needs quick surgery.
So in fact, you are saying that the position that you arrived at is not the position that one would find in the normal regular army.
Correct.
So this was an aberration. It was a completely different setting.
If I understand the word aberration.
That this is different. This is out of the norm, out of the ordinary.
Okay, correct.
Yeah. So it was just therefore you and like-minded persons who took it upon themselves to correct the ills of our society.
We did not take it upon ourselves. It was a necessity. We are carrying out our bounden duty to the nation.
But let's get it correct. It's either normal and appropriate or it is abnormal. Which is it? Was it normal for you to do what you did or was it abnormal?
Up to the time we took arms and went for the government, it was normal. But from the moment we took arms, it was abnormal.
It was an illegality.
Illegality in the sense that we are going for the government.
You knew you were stepping or overstepping your authority and your responsibility as soldiers.
We went with responsibility.
You were overstepping your duty as soldiers.
I don't understand what overstepping has to do with this issue here. We are carrying out our duties as military, a national duty we are carrying out.
So was it your national duty as a soldier to overthrow the established order, to overthrow the democratically elected government?
Nowhere in the Constitution is a coup allowed. Nowhere in this world.
Nowhere in any law is a coup allowed.
Yep.
So by staging a coup, you are taking it upon yourselves to embark on an illegal venture.
100% correct.
So therefore, your position that it was your responsibility as soldiers to correct the ills in the society is a misconceived notion.
No.
You still maintain that it's your duty.
Right.
Okay. Well, how can that be your duty and that it would be illegal for you to act on that duty?
Laws are promulgated by individuals or a group of people, in this case, the politicians. If I know when I go left what the dangers are, I will make sure that I make a demarcation there so that I don't get those dangers across on my head. And these laws promulgated so that no military can come in to take over the government. But I can tell you 100%, if you want to find any good administration anywhere in this world, go to the military.
But we are not there yet. Where we are at is trying to understand the mindset that led to the coup d'etat. You think it was your constitutionally given responsibility to remove a government that you believe was not performing for its people.
Correct.
That is your belief.
It is not a belief. It's in the Constitution. We have to uphold the nation, the Constitution, and
but
if they violated the Constitution, why do we have to leave them there?
But the Constitution tells you that
right.
Anybody who tries or even contemplates, participates, or plans to overthrow the established constitutional order commits the highest crime of treason.
Exactly.
So therefore, the Constitution would not give you the power to do so.
That is in the Constitution is a threat so that nobody attempts it.
After the successful coup in July 1994, 4 young soldiers changed the course of Gambian history. Yahya Jammeh, Sana SABALLY, Edward Singate, and Sadibu Haidara united by one mission: to end corruption and rebuild a broken nation. They made a promise: power would be shared, leadership would be temporary, and no one man would rule the Gambia. Jammeh would be the public face, the spokesman of the revolution. Sana SABALLY, his right hand, bold, loyal, and unafraid to speak truth to power. But within months, the dream began to crack. Ego replaced unity, trust turned to suspicion, and then betrayal. Sana SABALLY was arrested, tortured, and erased from the revolution he helped build. The brotherhood was broken, and from its ashes, Yahya Jammeh rose, not as a liberator, but as a ruler who would hold power for 22 long years. What began as a shared dream became a story of power, betrayal, and survival. What happened to Sana SABALLY will shock you.
They put me down on my knees, and then they put a plastic bag. This was a Piccadilly plastic bag, the bigger one, over my head. They would pull my head down in the bucket with water, and from the water that sips right inside the bag, between the bag and my neck, I realized it was acidic. Gas oil was there, essence was there, and this continued until
a group of young soldiers had seized power, overthrowing a democratic government that had ruled for 3 decades. At the heart of this revolution was a man named Sana B. SABALLY, bold, determined, and ruthless. To many, he was
among the council. Were you all in the same wavelength with regards to the future of the AFPRC?
Actually, during the preparation and planning concerning the time of stay in power, we had all agreed at that particular point that we stay for 6 months. And after the 6 months, we would make a bargain, or we talk with the government to come in so that we go on abroad for the studies.
During the 1994 coup in the Gambia, which brought Yahya Jammeh to power, Sana SABALLY was one of the key figures. He was the vice chairman of the Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council, AFPRC, effectively Jammeh's deputy right after the coup. On 22 July 1994, junior army officers led by Lieutenant Yahya Jammeh, Lieutenant Sana SABALLY, Lieutenant Edward Singate, and Lieutenant Sadabu Haidara overthrew President Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara's government.
That December, or say early January 1995, was that position still popular amongst members of the council?
No, it was only by me and Sadabu Haidara.
How about the others? What was their position?
I couldn't tell exactly, but they were not welcoming for us to stay only for 6 months.
And what was their proposition?
It was going to continue.
So they wanted to perpetuate themselves. They wanted to remain in power.
Yes.
That's
That would be correct.
That's your testimony.
Correct.
Initially, the coup leaders agreed on several things, which can be described as their informal agreement or understanding. 1. Power sharing and equal leadership. They agreed the coup was a collective effort by the group of young officers. The plan was that power would be shared among them, with no single person acting as dictator. Sana SABALLY, being one of the most senior in rank and bold in personality, was made vice chairman and minister of defense, effectively second in command. 2. Yahya Jammeh as the public face, temporary leader. The group agreed that Jammeh would be the spokesperson and interim head, mainly because he was seen as articulate and presentable to the public and foreign press. According to later testimonies, including from the TRRC, Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission, Sana SABALLY and Sadibu Haidara expected the military leadership to be temporary and to hand power back to civilians after cleaning up corruption. 3. No one should consolidate power alone. The officers had agreed that no single person should hold on to power or act unilaterally. However, this agreement began to break down within months of the coup, as Jammeh started consolidating authority and sidelining the others.
Can you tell us what happened around 26th of January 1994?
Right. On the 26th of January, I think it would be around 2, 3 in the afternoon, before closing, shortly before closing. I had migraine, and I called the doctor from Sukuta, Dr. Asan, and he came and checked me. And he said, you have to go home and rest. You are not resting. So I left for home. And later, Akibai, who was my permanent secretary, he brought me the NCC draft report, which was submitted on that day. And I called with Jammeh and he said, okay, tomorrow morning, before we do the council meeting, we looked at this draft report from the NCC. And then the next morning when I come, I was already arrested and in mile 2.
Let's talk about the process of your arrest, because that one too is important for the commission.
Okay, sorry, on that Thursday, before I left for home, I had a delegation that was Baba Job, Jabate of the police, for the body of the police.
Which Jabate?
I think later he would become a minister, I think. I don't know his name actually or his nickname, but I know he was Jabate from the police.
What was his profession apart from being police?
I think he would have been in the CID. I can't tell exactly, but he was more close to investigations and with the truth to the NIA at the time, or yeah, I can't tell exactly. I don't want to lie about that.
Which ministry did he head? Ultimately?
You
said he became a minister.
I think he became a minister. It's just trying to give out the exact person I wanted to say he was.
Which ministry did he serve then?
I think maybe Minister of Justice, if I'm right.
But that would be Baba Dinding?
I don't know his real name.
Lamin Jabate? I
don't know his real name, to be quite honest.
Okay. He worked with who? Who did he work with closely at the time?
In this meeting, he came with...
No, the question is, who did he work with most closely as at the time you had that interaction with him?
This was the NIA at the time.
which personality in the NIA did he work with closely?
These were the information that intelligence unit that brings information to the State House.
Who was his main partner?
Aba Marena.
You mentioned Efode Barry as well. Do you know whether Jobate and Fodo Barry worked together?
This I can ascertain.
You cannot ascertain.
No.
But the person that came to your office was called Jobate.
Exactly.
Okay. Do you remember how he looked like? Could you give us a description? You've told us Jobate worked with intelligence, NIA, Ministry of Justice. Those are the four.
These are my recollection to try to pinpoint exactly the person I'm referring to.
Okay.
I may be 100% wrong on that side, but
do you know from where about this country he hailed from?
No.
Okay. Good.
Can tell.
All right.
I don't know him much.
We can go with that.
Meeting.
We can go with that, with what you've given us. That is enough to be able to identify the person. You don't know the name, so you can't confirm or deny my proposition. So you said Jobate and Fodobari came. Did they come with anybody else?
Baba Job.
Baba Job.
And Sol Ndao.
Sol Ndao, yes.
Exactly. And in this meeting, it was Baba Job and Sol Ndao who said, or they were making a proposal that we establish the 22nd July Youth Movement. And I told them clearly, I'm not against the formation of this 22nd July movement, but my time was up to leave the council because my 6-month term was already there.
Did they see anything else?
They saw it strange, but I think they understood. I think Soldau in the end said, you have to go, but you should have stayed. And then they tried to explain how Baba Job was trained in Libya and Soldau, how they were organizing these things so that we can consolidate as a civilian government. But I said, no, at the end of the 6 months, I have sworn into the Quran, I will not go against this firing.
So you indicated your determination to leave.
Exactly.
Whether AFPRC remained or not.
Certainly, yes.
So what happened after that?
I went home. I got the National Council Committee report. This is the draft report for that day. And then I called Jami and said, we discuss it tomorrow before we sit in the council meeting. Because for him, it was like the term given was 2 point. Are you with me? Okay.
Yes.
The term he was looking for was 2.5 years, 2.5 years, meaning 2.5 years. And I reminded him clearly on the telephone that we had sworn into the Quran and the Bible that we are going to hand over after 6 months.
Was he happy when you said that?
He said, until we see tomorrow.
Okay. And what happened the next day?
The next day, we went to work. I was in the office. I was writing a letter to my cousin. And then he called on the intercom. Come to my office. I took the stairs upstairs. And when I come into the corridor, okay.
Before this, what was your relationship like with Edward Singate?
Okay, if I should fast track it the next day, that very Thursday, later I had to recollect and put dots together. Then I knew, that was.
What did you know when you connected the dots together?
Because he came that evening, in the morning, he said, we have to hand over the weapons because the civilians are afraid of these weapons in the State House. And of course, we are dealing with civilians. So I complied. I said, okay, I'll bring the weapons in the afternoon. So when I went home, I asked the guards to bring out these weapons, clean them, and take them back to the armory in the State House where they belong to. And Edward Singate, on this particular evening, he visited me in the Fajara residence. But for me, later I come to put the dots together. He was there to confirm that we had no weapons.
For what?
In the event, if there was to be a fighting between me and them, then they would overpower us.
And what happened on that Friday?
On that Friday, as I said, I went to work, normal. I was writing a letter to my cousin sister, and then Jama called in the intercom, and then he said, come to my office. For me, since we called the previous evening to discuss the NCC report, the draft report, before we sit in council, I found it necessary and normal, and I went. Immediately I arrived in the corridor.
How did you go? Did you go alone or did you go with your guards?
I think JCB would have been behind me. I never went there alone, but they stopped always in the security room.
Were you armed?
Of course, I was armed with my pistol.
So tell us what happened when you arrived at Jame's office, his area of
When I arrived in
State
the
House.
corridor, already his soldiers were there, the bodyguards were there, they waited for me, and then they arrested me.
Could you describe how and who was there?
Khalifa Bajinka was there, Almamo Mane was there, Bakari Kamara was there, Malafi Kaur was there, other soldiers, I don't know them from the TSG. Musa Mane was there, Musa Jame was there, commonly called Malia Mungu. Lamin S. Kamara was there, he was the bodyguard to Lieutenant Singate. And I think Samba Jallo was there, the driver to Edward Singate.
Bach.
But exactly.
These were all very big guys, huh?
Yes.
They overpowered you easily.
Correct.
And what happened to your arm?
They disarmed me. They tied me down. And then
Do you mean by that? They tagged me down.
they weighed me down, meaning they brought me down. And then they tied my legs and my hands together. And then shortly, maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes, Sadiq also walked into the same trap. He was also overpowered and arrested like myself.
What was Sadibu's position with regards to the handing over to civilian rule?
He was on my side.
He too was adamant that
We have to
6
go.
months, no more.
We have to go.
Why do you think he was arrested?
Because I was arrested, he would have to be arrested.
And after your arrest, immediately after your arrest, what happened?
Then we were brought down through the office of Jame at the time, then through the back door into 2 waiting vehicles, and then.
Did you see Mr. Singate at the time of the arrest?
Actually, at that point, Singate, when we were arrested, even before we were marched through the office, Singate came, and then he pointed the pistol right on Sadibu's forehead, and I told him, do not fire. And then he lowered his pistol down and then went back into the office of Jame. That was the last time I saw them.
By January 1995, tensions grew. Sana Sabally was becoming increasingly critical of Jame's growing control. Jame, in turn, saw Sabally as a threat. Eventually, Sana Sabally and Sadibu Haidara were arrested and accused of plotting a counter-coup. SABALLY was imprisoned and tortured, marking the complete collapse of their original agreement of shared leadership and unity. It wasn't a written document, but rather a mutual understanding among the coup plotters that the coup was for national reform, power would be shared among the officers, and no one would turn it into a dictatorship. Yahya Jammeh later betrayed this understanding, consolidating power as head of state and eventually ruling the Gambia for 22 years.
1995 January, there was purging within the AFPRC. You found yourself in jail. You served 9 years in prison, and then you were released. What
Right.
did you do after that?
After my release,
Yes.
After my release, I went to Senegal. This was on the 16th of February. And I came back on the 17th to attend the Independence Parade. And then after the independence, on the 21st, my life was attempted on, and I had to leave the country for good.
Can you explain that? What do you mean by your life was attempted on? Explain how that happened.
Actually, it's a long story, but to cut it short, I have to be grateful to one Sehu Bijaju. He lives in Sukuta. And 6 months before my release from prison, he came to the prison to visit me. Actually, at this point in time, I had no visits. I was not allowed anything. But out of nowhere, he came to visit me with his wife. And out of curiosity, I did ask him, how comes you come to visit me? Then he said he got permission from the chairman, which is Yaya Jammeh. I said, no, you can't go there like that. And then he told me he's from Sukuta. He talked to Babakar Jata, the army commander, and then that's how he got permission to come and see me for 30 minutes. And then since that day on, almost every day, he would bring me almost all the newspapers in the country, and he would bring me provisions, and then the friendship started like that. But for me, on the security aspect, I knew something was not in order there. And I took instinctively, I was ready for anything. Meaning, I knew he was implanted in the future, for any operation, for example, to assassinate me.
He was a security officer, was he?
No, he was not. He was working with Gamstar Insurance Company.
He was an agent.
Actually, I would not confirm it, but due to the circumstances that had unfolded, I could definitely say yes. But on the side of his help towards my family, I'm really grateful.
And then what happened afterwards?
Then, during these last 6 months, as I was in the prison, I used to go to the polyclinic, actually RVH. Then I had a toothache. And along that line, Alaji Martin, who was a WO2, Warrant Officer Class 2, and Lance Corporal or Corporal Ibrahim Ajouf, commonly known as Prince Johnson. They used to come almost every day when I was at the hospital, if I have to be there. And then they used to come with a particular man who I later come to know was from Guinea-Bissau, called Amadou Buaro.
Could you spell the name, please?
Amadou Buaro.
Could you spell the last name?
Buaro, B-O-U-A-R-E-O-R, sorry.
Okay.
Right.
All right. And then tell us what happened.
Like I said, each day I was in the hospital, the polyclinic especially, this man would appear outright in front of me. And there was a doctor, a dentist, he was a Nigerian, called Dr. Emmanuel. One day I was escorted by Sergeant Ablai Bojang, and we were sitting waiting for my turn to go to Dr. Emmanuel, and then Dr. Emmanuel came out and asked me to come into his small room between a doctor and his patient. And Ablai Bojang somehow refused because I was under escort. And he was right. Then Dr. Emmanuel said, I want to talk to my to my patient in person. I understood the situation. I diffused the situation. I told him, he's he's a guard. He has a right to be wherever I am. And then he allowed Ablai Bojang to be inside the room. And then he told me outright in question form, do you know this person, meaning the man, this Buaro? I said, no, I don't know him. You have never seen him? I know. I've never seen him. Is he not a family member? I said, no. All were in the negative. And then he told me, I come from Nigeria. You have to be careful if you have to leave the prison. He could be a potential assassin. And I kept that also to my bank. I left the prison, fast forward. When I left the prison, I was in Kotu with my sister. The same man came there. And luckily, there was a soldier who was my driver, actually. He was in Fajar Barash at the time. They had a training, and then he came on break. And then he was in uniform. This same particular Buaro came, and then he said he was looking for Sanabi SABALLY. My sister questioned him and asked him, where do you know him? He said, oh, I am from Bissau, but this is somebody I like very much. And when he got arrested, it's like my whole world was devastated. But now that I heard he has been released, I have come to see him. At this point in time, I was in the bedroom, by God's grace. So Wahab told him, you have to go. I know why you are here. Because Wahab saw his weapon on his body. This was the first incident. The same evening, if we know exactly where I was in this compound, if you are sitting in the sitting room, there is a window behind the TV, for example. If you look at through this window, you see directly to Kololi Tavan. And we saw these two men coming with a wheelbarrow with charcoal. They came directly into the compound. And then they said they were selling charcoal. But fortunately for me, it was like I saw this AK-47, this folding butt, right in the charcoal wheelbarrow. And Wahab questioned them, why are you here? What is this weapon for? Because they were speaking Creole, I could not understand any word. But later Wahab explained to me what he had talked with them. And then they also left. The third time, it was like, as I said, with Sehu Bijaju, with all the good things he have done for me, I come to understand he was an agent, implanted, whether he knew it or not, but I think he was put there so that they would know at any one point in time where I would be. And along this line, I also was doing my security checks, and I told him one day, Sehu, I want to go to visit my auntie in Kafuta, but I never went to Kafuta. It was just to give them a decoy, a ploy, to see if I was being followed. And I told him, as I said, I told him I was going to Kafuta, but I never went. And I went to my cousin sister in Latrikunda, Sabege. I stayed there till in the evening. I called Sehu, I said, oh, I went to Kafuta, but thereafter I went to Gunju to buy fish. But this buying of fish was also not there. It's just to give him that how I spend my time that whole day. And later, when I have to leave the prisons and went to Dakar, I got the information from my family that Alaji Martin, W2 Martin, was in Kafuta on this particular day, and they went to Kafuta to my auntie, to her compound, and then they asked for Sanabi SABALLY. My auntie told him, no, he's not yet here. He is in the prisons, because my auntie didn't even know I was released. And then he told my auntie, according to my sources in the family, that he's lucky. If you had found him here, he would have been a dead body.
And as a result of that, what did you do?
I didn't do anything because I didn't know it until when I was in Dakar.
At what stage did you decide to go to Dakar?
But power is a fragile alliance. Within a year, the revolution began to eat its own. January 1995, Sana SABALLY and Sadibu Haidara were accused of plotting a counter-coup. The same regime they helped create turned its weapons against them. Arrested by his own men, beaten and thrown into darkness, the hunter became the hunted. His journey of power ended, and a new journey began, the journey of punishment.
I knocked him down. I told SABALLY, I was telling SABALLY, you are the leader. If you don't shoot me, I will shoot you.
They took me across, out of the prison, across to the big side. And it was dipping me inside the water until I felt drowned. They pulled me out. Again, this continued until I think I swooned. I fainted. They came, this was in the night. They put a hood on my head. And now, since where I was, I started to orient myself quickly as to where they're going to take me out. I stopped at a particular point, and then they removed the hood, and then the tape recorder was there. And then Alaji Martin said, now this is your graveyard. And either you talk or we bury you here alive. Then they started burying me.
On July 22, 1994, the Gambia awoke to the sound of gunfire and uncertainty. A group of young soldiers had seized power, overthrowing a democratic government that had ruled for 3 decades. At the heart of this revolution was a man named Sana B. SABALLY, bold, determined, and ruthless. To many, he was the face of the new order. To others, he was the symbol of fear. This is the story of a man who rose to power, fell into darkness, and later found redemption in truth.
Did you enter Jammeh's office at all?
Yeah, before the arrest, no. But when we were being marched to the vehicles, yes, because they forced us through the back door.
Did you have a word with him?
I didn't even see him.
So, after you were marched through Jammeh's office, where were you taken?
We were taken into a waiting vehicle, and then 2 miles to prison.
Did you hear the government announcement as to what happened?
This would come on a Monday. I was later told. I didn't hear it, but I was later told.
What were you told?
That I entered Jammeh's office and found him sitting down, and I pointed my pistol to him, and I said, this is your end. And then I was frozen, like a mummy, and then he came, disarmed me, tied me down, and then that was ended for him.
Can you describe what you mean, frozen like a mummy?
Yeah.
Did he have a magic wand and say, Sana Bayro SABALLY, freeze, and suddenly you are frozen?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, I don't know why he said so, but for me, this was going to come in the later years. For me, it was like he was establishing that he's invincible, that nobody can do anything to him, and then that was the beginning of his power.
So he suggested to people that he had supernatural powers.
Exactly.
He could freeze people when he wanted.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating and well-known part of the Gambia's 1994 coup story. It mixes politics with the supernatural beliefs that were common among soldiers and civilians at the time. Here's what is historically known and what later came out through testimonies, especially from the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission, TRC. The supernatural power claim. After the coup, Yahya Jammeh often told his close circle that he had spiritual protection or supernatural powers. Powers that, he claimed, helped him stay in control and defeat his enemies. He reportedly said that these forces made him untouchable and that anyone who tried to challenge him would fall. When Sana SABALLY and Sadibu Haidara were arrested in early 1995 for allegedly plotting against him, Jammeh later boasted to his guards and aides that he had spiritually subdued SABALLY, that SABALLY could not harm him because his juju, charms, or marabouts had already tied SABALLY's power. Jammeh narrates his side of the story, explaining how Sana SABALLY gained access to his office.
On Friday, which is my day, I was in the office. This was around 10. Well, all of a sudden, the bell didn't even ring. Just rushed in. Somebody came forth. Before I asked him, who the hell do you think you are just busting into my office like that? Somebody came and said, it is over. They pointed their pistols at me. And you are the big, sorry, I tell you, you are the big, this is the biggest joke I've ever had since 94. Since 22nd of July. This is the biggest joke. Telling me that it's over, who the hell do you think I am? Someone told me to get up from where I saw that. You are a rabbit. Shoot me if you want, if you think that you can do anything to me. Just shoot me. I told him his gun would not fire. So I didn't want a shootout in my office. Because if I had called, pressed the bell, if these people came rushing in, they would have shot. And all of a sudden, when they rushed in, they just locked the door. So these people were outside, but you got the orders, trying to open. And I said, no, just leave, we are just discussing. So I told him, no. And he told him, sorry, the man got jail for that. So okay, when this man came, sorry, I said, I realized this is real. And I got up and I just got hold of his collar. Okay? So I knocked him down. I told SABALLY, I was telling SABALLY, you are the leader. If you don't shoot me, I will shoot you. Then I took out my gun. But I don't want to kill anybody, especially on a Friday, in my office. So I just went in. SABALLY wanted to come and prevent me from, I don't know what, he was playing with his trigger, I don't know, it didn't work anyway. So I wanted to open the door, and then he wanted to block me. If you move, I will shoot. I just pushed him aside, opened the door, and then grabbed him by the neck. Then the boys came and then they were searching my person. Each of them had 2 pistols, each pistol loaded. So when I asked somebody, why this? I thought you were mad because all these days people have been telling me things. And that explains why you refuse to hand over the heavy weapon. And they said, Bala Mara, Satan. What? I got Satan. You will see Satan. Satan is a human being.
Then you think that was a lie?
Sorry?
That was a lie.
A big fat one.
So kindly tell us about your time in detention. For how long were you in detention before you were tried?
I was in detention from that January on the 27th, that Friday, until in August, I think, they arraigned me before a court martial. And 33 charges were brought forward, and it started, the court martial started, and it went on until on the 22nd of December when I was convicted for 9 years.
Who prosecuted you?
Justice Michael Felix Kilate. Sorry, he was the president, he was the judge of the court martial. The prosecutor was Akamba.
Where from?
From Ghana.
Was he alone?
I think, I don't know this person, but it was a Gambian who was with him as a legal secretary, I think. I don't know him.
Was it me?
I think I recognize your face, but I cannot confirm. But I think so. Yeah.
No, it wasn't me.
Okay.
I was doing masters at the time.
Okay.
At the University of the West Indies.
Okay.
So it couldn't have been me. Yes. So I raised that question because it suggested that I prosecuted you, but
No.
it wasn't me.
Okay. If you said so, no.
Yes. So you were prosecuted.
Exactly.
And you were convicted.
Right.
Did they call any witnesses against you?
Actually, they call witnesses. As I said yesterday, these issues of my bodyguards harassing people were part of those 33 charges that were levied on me. But all of them were thrown out of the window. However, one would expect the treason charge to stand 100%. It also didn't stand, maybe 20% forced onto me. And they brought in my wife and my twin brother, 3 charges, so to say, on the basis. Yeah.
I don't understand. Your wife and your twin brother were charged together with you in a court martial.
That was the intention. Because whenever I had traveled out of the country, I had given specific orders to the drivers, to the guards, that they keep these vehicle keys and no vehicle goes out of the compound. However, my twin brother, in our culture, he was also a husband to my wife. Later I come to know, after the court martial, or during the court martial, when the charge it came out, that saying he used to go to my bedroom and pick the keys from my wife. And then he used to go to Gambia College with this government vehicle, without a driving license. And these 3 charges were on that.
I understand that. That is the basis of the charge.
Exactly.
But my question is, were they also charged together with you in a court martial? Because that would be very odd.
I'm coming to that in a short moment, please.
Proceed, please.
And then when these charges were read, and I was asked to plead guilty or not guilty, I pleaded for the first time not guilty. My understanding was that I never knew anything about it. And then we had a break, tea break. We were at the tea break, and Felix Michael later said to me outright, "Hi, my brother, you are a soldier. These charge sheets are going to be brought on you, on your twin brother and your wife. They will be convicted, and you will not be released. So the better you soldier it, you are a soldier. You can take that." And then we resumed. He read the charges again. Akamba went flat on the ground that no. He take the verdict that I said I was not guilty, and he will prosecute me along that line. Akamba said I overruled.
Who overruled?
Sorry, Justice Felix Michael Latte. He overruled, and he read the charges again, and I pleaded guilty.
And then what happened after that?
At the end, they gave me, the first charges was 2 years, the second was 3 years, and the fourth one was 4 years.
Your investigation, who conducted it?
The military police.
And where was it conducted?
In the prisons. First, we were taken to the army headquarters and told I am going to go to the court martial. But the investigation team was Sergeant Jassy from the military police at the time. And I will come back to a little bit if you allow me. When I got arrested on Friday, all my bodyguards and bodyguards of Sadibu Hydra were never arrested. Until on Monday, they were asked to go to work, and they came to work, and then that's where they got arrested and brought to Mile 2. Maybe a week or two later, the records are in the prison, they could be ascertained. Dembo Jiba, who was my driver, and Wahab Koli, who was also my driver, were released, but not to go home. They were taken to the NIA headquarters and later to Fajara barracks. And they have been schooled for 2 good months as to what to say when in the event they were called into my court martial.
Did you have to face the NIA during the investigations?
Investigations, yes, and many times.
Despite the accusations, no formal or fair trial took place in a civilian court during Jammeh's rule. The case was handled within the military justice system, and SABALLY was never convicted through a transparent legal process. He was kept in prison for over 9 years, effectively as a political prisoner. There were no proper legal proceedings, no defense lawyers, and no evidence presented to justify his imprisonment.
Can you tell us the process of your interrogation? The things that happened during your interrogation?
Once at Mile 2, SABALLY was stripped naked, tied, and blindfolded. He was then interrogated by soldiers and intelligence officers loyal to Jammeh, including some he had once commanded himself. The main accusation was, "You tried to overthrow Chairman Jammeh and take power for yours." During the interrogation, he was beaten with electric cables, gun butts, and iron rods. His head was submerged in dirty water, a form of water torture. He was forced to lie on the floor while soldiers took turns stomping on his back and chest. The soldiers shouted at him to confess the coup, though there was no evidence. They accused him of using juju, spiritual charms, to protect himself and demanded that he remove it. He never signed any confession, and no official record of his interrogation was ever filed in a court or military law.
Actually, all what they wanted to hear from me was that I accepted that I wanted to kill Jammeh, and weapons would be produced to have said that these were the weapons I was carrying to carry out whatever intentions I had against Jammeh, and from there he was going to give me a pardon. And they had brought papers that I have to sign, and I refused, totally.
Who brought the papers?
This where Alhaji Martin was the head of all this.
Could you name the individuals, all of them?
The ones I can remember from the military side were WO2 Alhaji Martin, Lance Kapur Senghor, I think he was a Lance Kapur at the time, Lance Kapur Senghor.
What's his first name?
I think would be Lamin,
Okay.
if I'm correct.
Lamin Senghor.
I think I would be correct.
Do you know whether he has another nickname?
Nay, I can't, nay.
But in which of the services did he belong to?
He belonged to the Infantry Battalion Yundum.
Do you know a person called Assassin?
Assassin, this is I don't know that.
You don't know that name, but this person is Lamin Senghor, and Lance Corporal Lamin Senghor, and he used to work with Alhaji Martin.
I know Lamin Senghor I'm talking about used to work with Alhaji Martin, WO2 Alhaji Martin.
Okay, proceed.
Malafi Kaur, Babukar Bob, the private soldier at the time, not Babukar Mboob.
Yes.
Clarification, please.
Babukar Bob, yes.
Babukar Bob, he was a private soldier in barracks.
Yes.
But at the time, he was at the state guard.
And who else?
And one Nur, I don't know his name, but he was from the TSG.
Okay.
And PM Sar from the Gambia National Army. These were on many occasions, the daytime, in the night.
Said many occasions.
Right.
How many can you think of?
I can't recall exactly how the number, but I can.
2 times?
More than that, more than 10 times, more than 20 times.
More than 20 times?
Yeah.
And what would they do when they come?
They had always come with a tape recorder, and for most of the time they would play Jekyll and Hyde, so to say, one good team, one bad team.
Good cop, bad cop.
Exactly. And Malafi Kaur, since he was my batchmate in the military, he was there to play the good cop, so to say. And it was like he was to convince me to say, yes, I had wanted to kill Jammeh, and yes, I own those weapons that were produced or would be produced. And if I refuse, then the other part would carry on with their tortures. But still, Malaf would be there at certain times. No, stop, he will talk. Stop, he will talk. But I never gave in. Because for me, it was like, I would rather die than to lie to them. Nay.
And what would they do?
Okay. I have to pick certain tortures now that were meted on me and Sadibu Hydra. For example, once they came, they had a bucket of water in confinement number 5. I was in shackle, I was in handcuff. I had 2 handcuffs and 2 shackles on my legs. And I was completely naked in my birthday suit. They took me to confinement number 5. And there I found this bucket of water. They pushed me down on my knees, and then they put a plastic bag. This was a Piccadilly plastic bag, the bigger one, over my head. They tied it at my neck, and then they asked me to confess. And then during the process, they would pull my head down in the bucket with water, and from the water that sips right inside the bag, between the bag and my neck, I realized it was acidic. Gas oil was there, essence was there, and this continued until probably I black out. And they were beating me with a Warrington claw hammer. This was in the hands of Malawi Kaur.
Who was involved in that process?
The people I just mentioned, Alaji Martin, he was always the commander of this team. Lamin Senghor.
What would you call that team?
The torture team.
So your testimony is that Alaji Martin was the head of the torture team.
Every day they came, he was the head. Every day they had come to me.
Proceed, please. And who else?
And Malawi Kaur, this Ndur I talked about, I don't know his first name, but he was from the TSG. PM Sar, Samba Jallo, but Samba Jallo came very few times. Yeah. And later I come to understand, whenever Samba was there, it was somewhere within the prison yard. But this I cannot ascertain.
Who else? You mentioned Samba Jallo.
Exactly.
Malawi Kaur.
Malawi Kaur.
Alaji Martin.
Alaji Martin.
Who else?
This Lance Corporal Lamin Senghor.
He was there always.
Always, he was
there.
He was
always. Also a constant.
Constant, he was always there.
These over 20 instances of torture, he was always present.
Always there.
Alaji Martin, these 20 instances of torture, he was always present.
Always present. With the case of Pamodu M. Sar, he had never tortured me directly, but he was always standing at the door.
Okay, proceed, please.
Okay. And another time, they came, this was early in the morning. How do I know it was early in the morning? It was that in the prisons at the back, these are swamp, mangrove swamps, there are birds. When they sing, we know exactly it was prayer time in the morning. And they came, they opened my cell, they said it was time to go for washing. And then they took me across, out of the prison, across to the big side. And it was dipping me inside the water until I felt drowned. They pulled me out. Again, this continued until I think I swooned. I fainted. But along all these tortures, I came to understand whenever I went blackout, they were afraid. And then I also started playing along that line. But not immediately when they started the tortures, I gave in, but I played the dead somehow. And it had helped somehow.
You have mentioned 2 types of torture.
Exactly.
The first is they'll put a Piccadilly plastic bag over your head and dip it in some liquid in a bucket.
Exactly.
That happened until you fainted. It ended. Then the next time, they take you to the beach
Exactly.
and dip your head in the water, in the sea,
Exactly.
until you fainted.
Exactly.
And what else?
And another time, I don't know exactly where this was, but they came, put a hood on my head, on our eyes, me and Sadibu, and then they took us out in a vehicle. Where they drove, I can tell, but later I found myself inside a shipping container. It was so hot that I thought we were in hell. And we were always completely naked as a needle.
You mentioned that in the first instance of torture, somebody had a hammer.
This is Malavikor.
And was that hammer used at all?
Each time he came with this hammer, I thought it was only for me. He had no spot where he would have beaten me with this hammer or knocked me with this hammer.
I don't understand.
I said there's no part on my body where he had not used this hammer on my body. That's what I wanted to say.
So they hit you with this hammer
Completely.
all over your body?
Completely.
Throughout this period of tortures, did you cry?
Yeah, I cried until I think I lost all my tears out.
In January 1995, Jammeh accused SABALLY and another council member, Sadibu Haidara, of plotting a counter-coup against the AFPRC, attempting to overthrow Yahya Jammeh and take control of the government. These accusations were never backed by solid evidence. It was largely based on Jammeh's growing distrust and his desire to remove anyone who could challenge him. SABALLY and Haidara were arrested by soldiers loyal to Jammeh. They were detained without trial, brutally tortured, and held in Mile 2 Central Prison, one of the most notorious prisons in the Gambia. Haidara later died in custody from torture and neglect. SABALLY, however, survived, but was permanently scarred physically and psychologically.
Did anybody try to stop this? Alhaji Martin, did he try to stop this?
As I said, the only time they would have a break or a stop is when in the end, as I said, I pretended to have gone blackout, and then they would drag me back into the cells if it were within the premise of the prison yard.
Could you tell us any other form of torture that they used on you?
Another day they came, this was in the night, they put a hood on my head, and now, since where I was, I started to orient myself quickly as to where they're going to take me out. And then I started counting my step. When we left the building, they turned left, so now I knew exactly we're going to the gallows. Or we're going to go to another door which goes inside the criminal convicts, the main yard. But since they have gone direct, and the steps were to a door where I have to step over a concrete embankment, I knew exactly now we are in the gallows area. But at this particular point in time, the thoughts that were reeling in my mind was that I was going to be taken to the gallows. But the steps continued, so I knew, no, I have passed the gallows now. And then we went, and then we stopped at a particular point. And then they removed the hood, and then the tape recorder was there. And then Alhaji Martin said, now this is your graveyard. And whether you talk or we bury you here alive.
At the time, where was Sadibu?
Sadibu was not there. I was the only one who was taken on this occasion.
Proceed.
And then, before I could say anything, I just was butt struck at the back, and I felt in this, what they call graveyard. And then they started burying me.
It was a pit.
It was a pit, dug out.
And then?
And then they buried me up to here. And then they put the tape recorder next to my head. And then they said I should talk and say, I wanted to kill Jammeh, and Jammeh is going to forgive me if I say that, and then I own up to owning those weapons. Those were going to be produced in a press conference. And I refused. And then Malavikor started hitting me with the hammer until I don't know exactly what went there on. Maybe I went into blackout.
At this point, where was Alhaji Martin?
He was always standing giving orders.
Lamin Senghor?
He was also there. They were the one who were burying me in, or who buried me.
Pamodu Sar?
Pamodu had never, to be quite honest, he had never taken part directly, but he was always standing at the door.
How about Bob?
He was part of it.
Ndur?
Part of it.
How long did this ordeal last?
This happened almost 2-3 times, if I can fully remember.
This burial alive?
Exactly.
It happened 2 or 3 times?
3 times.
Same location?
The same location.
Same people?
The same people, exactly.
And still you could not be broken?
Nay.
How about Sadibu?
Sadibu also had, okay, Sadibu was not buried alive, but I was buried alive.
3 times, you said?
Yes, 2 or 3 times, if I can, I think 3 times, to be exact. It was 3 times.
This place where you were buried alive, where was it?
This was in the prison yard, where the gallows is, if you would know the place.
And so, what other form of torture was used against you?
And another time they came for me, this was in the afternoon. When they came, actually this issue happens many occasions, but on this particular issue, on this particular day, they moved me out. They said, today you have to defecate and eat your excreta.
Meaning you had to eat your own poo, that's what.
Exactly. Hey, dengay day nga lekk ko. Il mandinka ibe bu kelele bi yela bodom. He pular ahu watande nyama do demandi.
Jola?
Jola, I lost my Jola now. Sorry.
And who said that to you?
This was Alaji Martin and Malafikor.
Which Alaji Martin are you talking
This is
about?
WO2 Alaji Martin, nickname called Lagos.
Do you know what position he now holds in the army?
No, I have no idea.
So, Lagos, what role did he play in all this?
He was the commander of the torture team. Every day they had come for me.
And on this particular day, they wanted you to defecate and eat it.
Exactly.
And tell us what happened.
And in this position, my legs were tied together, my hands were tied. I couldn't move my hands, but I was lying on my back. They put this, because they had tried for me to defecate, I could not. I tried. Definitely I have tried. But I could not. And then they went, and from where they brought this excreta, I have no idea, but they brought excreta. And then they put it on my chest. So I had to lick it like this. I tried, but I could not because my neck could not go or my tongue could not reach it. And Lance Corporal Lamin Sangor, maybe out of anger, he just picked it up and threw it on my face. And then tried to force it in my mouth. I clenched my teeth together. And then I was so beaten so terribly that I swooned. And then when I woke up, I was...
You passed out?
Yeah, I was in my cell.
At this time, where was Sadibu?
Sadibu also suffered the same situation.
How do you know?
We discussed together. Whenever I was taken, when I was brought back, Sadibu would be taken. But sometimes they take us together. They would first start with Sadibu. I think that was the psychological torture, so to say. And then they will come onto me also. They let us down first, and then they took a pin, long pin. These two ladies were very close to me. They were taken to the NI headquarters. According to them, they were stripped completely naked. And at the NI headquarters, bananas were used, sticks were used as dildos, right into their womanhoods. I'm sorry for the language. And they were being told, you will never have a man inside you anymore because we will destroy your womanhood.
Called waterboarding?
Right.
Have you ever experienced it?
A group of young soldiers had seized power, overthrowing a democratic government that had ruled for 3 decades. At the heart of this revolution was a man named Sana B. SABALLY, bold, determined, and ruthless. To many, he was the face of the new order. To others, he was the Once, he was one of the most feared men in the Gambia, a soldier, a revolutionary, and one of the founding members of the 1994 coup that brought Yahya Jammeh to power. His name is Sana B. SABALLY. Power is a dangerous friend, and soon the same system he helped create would turn its guns against him. In January 1995, just months after helping Jammeh seize control, Sana SABALLY was accused of plotting another coup. His arrest was brutal. His fall was swift. He was taken to Mile 2 prison, not as a general, but as a prisoner. At the TRRC, years later, Sana SABALLY described in painful detail the horror he endured. They tied me with ropes, they beat me, they poured water on me and left me in the cold. For years, I was not human.
We want to have the full spectrum of the various types of torture that were meted on you. We also want to know their effect on you and other people, their impact and all that. So proceed now with your testimony regarding the other types of torture that was meted out on you.
Another time they came with a long bag. It's called this sankilo bag, this long one. This groundnut bag, I will call it for all of us to understand the type of bag I'm referring to. And then when they came, they tied my legs, tied my hands, and then they put me inside this bag. And then I was hung up in the air, on the ceiling, and then this bag was swinging left and right, front and back. And I was head down.
How did it feel?
It's like I was a ping pong ball. When they shoved me to the left, Malafi shoved me back. Raj Martin shoved me through back to Malafi. And it was like that, going and coming, going and coming.
How did it feel to you?
Dizzy, completely. My blood completely came on my head at one point.
You passed out?
Completely.
And throughout this period, what was their objective?
I believe they wanted to break my spirit completely. One, in that I would lie, because they had always come with a tape recorder. And later I come to understand they had always recorded these incidents and they had shown it to Jammeh.
Recorded how? Video?
Video again, but that one I cannot confirm. But the tape recorder was always there.
So apart from being hung up the ceiling, with your head down in a groundnut bag or sack, so to say, what else did they do to you? Can you tell us about the short shackles?
Okay. These were some of the moments when they would come with an electric machine, and they had electrocuted me. They would apply one of the electrodes on my neck, on my tongue, and then the other on my penis. And they would be adding the voltage slowly, voltage high and voltage down. And these all were accompanied with beatings. And yeah.
They electrocuted you?
Genau.
On your penis and on
my
your
penis
tongue?
and my tongue.
Who did that?
Alaji Martin and Lamin Senghor.
Where did this happen?
This happened in Mile 2 for the first time. Then the second time, they took me to the NIA headquarters.
And at the NIA headquarters, who did it?
This I cannot tell exactly where, but there was one name I heard clearly was Dabo, but I don't know his first name, but they used to call him Dabo. Yeah.
On this particular occasion, was
Exactly.
Alaji Martin there?
Yeah, he had always come for me. For tortures, he was always there. He was never absent.
Lamin Senghor?
Lamin Senghor was always there.
PM Sar?
PM Sar, as I said, he had never touched me physically, but he was always standing by.
Manlafi?
Lafi, yeah. He was also there.
Ndur?
Ndur also was there. These are TSG personnel.
Bach Sambaba?
Bach hardly comes every day. His comments were not oft.
Babukar Bob?
Babkar Bob also was not always.
So, you said this electrocution was done together with beatings.
Exactly.
Can you describe the beatings? What would they use against you?
As I said, Malafi had always come with this Warrington claw hammer. And for him, this was the weapon he had always used on me. And that's why I lost my disc tooth on the left-hand side here.
And apart from this electrocution, did they use another method of torture on you?
Right.
It's an emotional moment. Sana was tortured daily, denied food, locked in solitary confinement for 9 years. He lost his health, his freedom, his mind. He told the commission, "I cried every day. I begged God to take my life, but he did not." His voice cracked, and the nation saw not the soldier who once inspired fear, but a man is completely broken.
There in the corridor, they laid us down first, and then they took a pin, long pin, this was iron, and then they drove it right inside my penis. And then the same thing was done to Sadibu, right in my presence. And whilst they made the same thing to me, he was standing, watching. And the other day they came, for the first time in my life, I come to know what a G-string is. They brought two, they asked me to wear it by force. And then they did the same thing to Sadibu. They said we should pose as prostitutes, so to say, in their term. And along the line, they said I should, with Sadibu Hydra, we should make homosexual actions, meaning I should have sex with Sadibu Hydra. And I refused, or we refused. Yeah, they beat us to death, so to say.
Who did that?
Alaji Martin, Lamin Senghor, Ndur, Malafikor, on this particular occasion.
When you said they beat us to death, what do you mean?
As always, Malafi had his claw Warrington hammer, and then they used the butt of the AK-47 to bust us.
Do you know What was it that was used to be inserted in your penis?
I think it would be the small iron in a bicycle. It looked like that, not exactly. In a bicycle.
The spook.
Genau, the spokes of a bicycle, but it is not that exactly, but it looks like that.
How did it feel?
Terribly painful, and that's why they ruptured my bladder.
How did these people react when you were agonizing, when you were in pain? How did they react?
Unless I go black out, they never stop. Or when Malafikor had played the good cop, then they limit it and then start again. Because then they would ask if I have to talk. When I don't, then it continues again.
Who asks the questions?
It is always Alaji Martin who directs the questions to be asked. And Lamin Senghor was always asking. And Malafikor was the good cop.
Apart from this type of torture, what other method did they use on you?
I want to come to it, but I would want here to mention I had two ladies with me in the residence. These two ladies, when I got arrested, they were picked up, but not at mile 2. They were taken to NIA headquarters for 2 months. It was when I discharged from the prisons, they got to tell me all the ordeals they underwent at the NIA headquarters. These two ladies were very close to me. They were taken to the NIA headquarters. According to them, they were stripped completely naked, and at the NIA headquarters, bananas were used, sticks were used as dildos, right into their womanhoods. I'm sorry for the language. And they were being told, you will never have a man inside you anymore because we will destroy your womanhood. And this continued for 2 good months before they were eventually released. I learned from them the person they could identify was one Baba Drame.
Did they say anything about the questions they were asked at NIA?
They were asked if I had told them anything of my plans or would-be plans to get rid of Yaya. And they were asked also to confirm what statements they were going to say in the event they were brought before me. And once that was done, while they tortured them, I was brought in and I stood and I watched how they were being tortured.
You mean that you were taken from mile 2?
Exactly.
Brought to NIA?
Exactly.
And made you watch?
Exactly.
While these two women who were close to you were being tortured?
Tortured, exactly.
Who did that?
It's the NIA headquarters personnel. I don't know them exactly. But as I said, one person I could remember was called Dabo, but I don't know him in person. But this name I kept in my brain since then.
And what kind of torture did you see?
At this particular time, on this day, as I said, they had used bananas and dildos inside their womanhoods.
And who was administering this gruesome process?
This was this Dabo I'm talking about.
As this was being done, were you being asked questions?
Nay, at this particular point, nay, they didn't ask me questions, but later they moved me into another room where they asked me to sign the statement that I wanted to kill Jame. If not, they will bring these ladies and they will kill them in my presence.
Did you sign?
I didn't sign anything.
You still refuse?
I still refuse, yeah, correct.
They still can't break you?
Nay.
How about Haidara?
Haidara was also the same thing. But on this particular day at the headquarters, at my headquarters, Haidara was not there.
Can you give us a description of this Dabo?
He's a tall guy, tall, slanky somebody. If I could remember, the intonation is either from Gunjur, Sukuta, or Sanyang. This is the Mandinka dialect there.
Thank you very much for that. But apart from this Dabo, you could not recall anybody.
Any other person?
Do you recall who escorted you from Mile 2 to NIA on this occasion?
Alaji Martin's team always had come for me if I have to leave Mile 2 for tortures.
Could you kindly remove your hands from your mouth so we can hear you clearly? I know this is very difficult. We crave your indulgence. It is important that we bring things out so that the Gambian people would know some of the things that Gambians have done on other Gambians. It is absolutely important. I am terribly sorry.
It was one of the most emotional days at the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission. The nation had gathered around its screens. Radios were turned on in villages, taxis, and schools. Everyone was waiting to hear from the man who once helped shape their country's destiny, Sana B. SABALLY. As he took the stand, the room fell silent. The former vice chairman of the 1994 junta looked older, slower, and tired. But when he began to speak, the pain in his voice pierced the silence. They came for me at night. They beat me. They tied my hands so tight I could not feel my arms. He spoke not like a soldier, but like a man crushed by the same brutality he once defended. He described being stripped naked, beaten with gun butts, and left in a cell with his hands tied behind his back, day after day. I prayed to die. I told God, if this is punishment for what I have done, let it end here. His words broke the room. Even the commissioners lowered their eyes. But what happened next, no one was ready. As he spoke, two women in the audience began to cry uncontrollably. One was a relative of a soldier who once served under SABALLY. The other, a victim who had suffered under the same regime. Or, their tears were not just for him, but for themselves, for their loved ones, and for a country finally facing its pain.
So, on this occasion, was it just Alaji Martin, or was it the entire team?
Alaji Martin was there, Malafikor was there, Lance Corporal Senghor and Ndur was there.
And these women were kept at NIA for 2 months, you
2
said?
months, according to their information they gave me.
But you confirmed seeing them at the NIA when this process of torture was being meted out on them?
Exactly.
How did it feel seeing these two women close to you being treated in such a barbaric manner?
Horrific. Yeah. Perhaps if they were military personnel, I could understand.
Military personnel do not deserve to be tortured.
No, what I mean is probably is that they could have undergone a training where they could resist some of these things, I mean.
Nobody deserves to be tortured.
Okay.
Nobody. Apart from this method of torture, what other method did they use on you?
Another time they brought in this, I don't know where they got it, but if one is from the villages, if you had a sweater on, mostly you walk into the bush, these closed footpaths, the seeds come attached to you. It has
thorns.
Thorns, exactly, correct. Thank you for the word. And these were spread on the wall, sorry, on the floor, and this was in the NIA headquarters. And then we were naked, me and Sadibu. They dragged us on these thorns, edges.
And what happened when your body came into contact with these thorns?
Lacerations, we sustained lacerations, and they poured cool water, ice water on us.
For how long did this happen?
As long as I can remember, we were there in the morning, and when we came, I found my lunch in the cells. So this could be around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock.
Were you conscious throughout, or you
Yeah, when they
passed
brought
out?
me back this summer, I was conscious.
And who participated in this incident?
This is Elijah Martin, Lance Corporal Senghor, Ndur, and Malafikor. As I said, Private PM SAR had never laid hands on me.
How would you describe these people, Elijah Martin, Lance Corporal Senghor, Ndur, and Bob? How would you describe them?
Well, they are torturers, that's all.
Your word is they are what?
They are torturers.
Torturers, that's what you said.
As Sana SABALLY began to speak, his voice trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of memories he had carried for decades. Every word was heavy, every pause filled with pain. The audience could feel it. This was not the same man they had once known in power. One woman sat quietly in the crowd, her eyes fixed on him. She wasn't just a witness, she was reminded of the human cost of Gambia's dark years. Sana spoke of the cold cells, the endless nights, the humiliation. His voice cracked as he described the beatings, the isolation, and the struggle to stay alive. In that TRC hall, even the air seemed to hold its breath. And when he finally stopped speaking, there was no applause, only silence. A silence filled with empathy and pain.
What do you say to the suggestion that you were never tortured? They just asked you questions. What do you say to that?
That is totally false. That is totally false.
Do you know what is called waterboarding?
Right.
Have you ever experienced it?
Yeah. I think I'd prefer if you would only read it, please.
It's all right. I would skip it. But can you confirm to us that you experienced it?
Yeah, many times.
Who did it to you?
Elijah Martin and his team, Malafikor, Lance Corporal Senghor, and Ndur.
If you don't mind, I can read out an excerpt from your statement.
Please,
If only if you don't mind.
I agree.
You had this to say, and I quote, "On this session, we were told it's a washing day, an order from the president. Quote, take them to their washing, unquote. As if we were circumcised, initiated children to take their first bath after 1 month in the bush or woods. This was around 3 to 5 a.m., I calculated, or knew from the early morning birds singing. We were taken to the sea just across the highway, directly in front of the prisons.
Correct.
We were in our usual torture sessions uniform, in brackets, but they shoot, that is stark naked. And costume jewelry, that is shackles and handcuffs. Right. The air was very cold and windy. The seawater was near freezing point. By the baser intelligence interrogation methods called waterboarding, they strapped us down and pushing us under the water until we were made to believe one might drown. We had been in this way on and on, held underwater until we had in fact begun to drown and lost consciousness, only to be revived by our torturers and submerged again. It was one of our worst memories and experiences." That's what you said.
Correct, 100% correct.
Who did this to you?
Elijah Martin, Malafikor, Ndur, and Lance Corporal Senghor.
You were also subjected to the water pit treatment.
And
In your statement, you said as follows. There was the water pit, in which most communal cell blocks in the jail that is housing the criminal convicts empty their waste matter. Also thrown into this pit was every type of conceivable dirt. We are made to stand on tiptoe to avoid drowning. Who did this to you?
This is Alaji Martin, Lanskapur Sengor, Malafikor, Undur.
Other sessions, we were left gagged with our hands tied on the top of our cell door after being questioned by the NIA and the close bodyguards or soldiers to the president. Who are you referring to? Which bodyguards or soldiers to the president?
As Sana SABALLY began to speak, for years, SABALLY was remembered only as a soldier of the 1994 coup, accused of cruelty, power, and arrogance. But here, in front of his victims and his nation, he was simply human, confronting his past and his pain. In that moment, the nation saw not a soldier, but a man reborn through truth. Part 4 ends here, but the journey isn't over.
It was also another day. They put an iron inside my anus, and I was hanging by my hands on the ceiling, but barely my feet touches the ground. And since my weight, whole body weight was on my wrist, if I tried to move, it was like I would be impaled by the iron inside my anus.
Who did that to you?
Alaji Martin, Lanskapur Sengor, Malafikor, Andur.
Just 3 months after the coup, Sana SABALLY and Yahya Jammeh reached an agreement. Power should be returned to civilians. But Jammeh had other plans. He refused to honor the agreement, playing a dangerous game behind the scenes. Secret plots were hatched, threats were whispered, and soon assassination plans were targeted at SABALLY himself. The man who once trusted his comrades now found himself hunted by the very people he called friends. Sana SABALLY, a man once feared, now remembered as one who was betrayed by his own friends in the battle for power. The same men he trusted used that power against him. What followed was unimaginable. Years of torture, humiliation, and pain inside dark prison walls. A story of power, betrayal, and survival that still shakes the Gambia to this day.
They forced him down on the ground. They put an iron bar under his testicles. And Malafikor took the claw pen Warrington hammer. And then they force bit the muscles on the testicles, or inside the testicles. And I am not a doctor at the time, I am not a medical personnel at the time, but if you were today, I would definitely say the cause of Sadibu's death was from that. Because thereafter, he bled up to the day he died. Nostrils, ears, anus, penis, everything was blood.
Who did that to him?
This is Alaji Martin, Lanskapul Sengor, Malafikor, Andur, on the 6th of June.
You did not forget?
No.
Even a second in that time?
No. Because immediately he passed out, he closed his eyes. I closed his eyes. I asked Guy to tell me the time. And he told me exactly it was 1600 hours 17.
You did not want to forget that time?
No, I can't forget that time. Sadiq is part of me. And he will ever remain to be part of me.
Among the many who suffered, one death cut deepest into Sana SABALLY's heart. The death of Salibu, his friend and comrade. They had fought side by side, trusted each other in a world where betrayal lurked around every corner. But when Salibu succumbed to torture, the weight of loss struck Sana like a lightning bolt. He was not just a friend, he was my brother. I saw him beaten, broken, and left to die. I couldn't save him. I couldn't even cry without fear. Betrayal had taken their lives one by one. Men they had trusted, men who once shared laughter and plans for the future, now became instruments of pain and death. Salibu's death was a mirror of what could have been for Sana, a constant reminder that survival came at the cost of his friends' lives. That moment changed him forever. The betrayal, the torture, the death of a friend. It left scars that no prison wall could contain. It was no longer just about surviving Jammeh's plots. It was about carrying the weight of those who didn't. This is the story of a man, from power to prison to peace, Part 5.
Other sessions, we were left gagged with our hands tied on the top of our cell door after being questioned by the NIA and the close bodyguards or soldiers to the president. Who are you referring to? Which bodyguards or soldiers to the president?
This was the time Khalifa Bajinka took part in this session with Musa Jammeh, plus Alaji Martin and his team.
You went on to say that at one location you were blindfolded and hooded and kept in scorching hot shipping containers.
Correct.
We went through that.
Okay.
You also described that on one occasion you were chained for a week.
Exactly. There I would explain, in the cell, in confinement number 1, cell number 4, both ends of the room, this room is 2.25 meters long, 2.5 meters. The width and length is almost the same. Maybe the height would be 3 meters. And as I said, on the head side is a raised bankment, and at the foot end also is the same thing, maybe 50 centimeters high. And this is where normally the plank of wood as a bed is laid upon. But there the dog in the wall, and then they put an iron bar there, and in the foot side also they put the same iron bar. And the plank of wood was removed, and I was tied in my handcuff. And on the bed side, in the head side, I was chained, and then in the left side, on the feet side, I was chained and I was hanging there. And this was the time I was left there for that long.
No wooden plank under your body.
Nah.
You are forced to suspend pretty
Exactly.
much. How did it feel?
Yeah, my tendons were all completely, yeah.
Up to now, you would not talk.
Nay, I never gave in. Up to the day I left prison, I never gave in.
Another time, tell us about the efforts to insert certain things in your body. Would you be willing to talk about that?
Yeah.
Tell us.
This was also another day. They put an iron inside my anus, and I was hanging by my hands on the ceiling, but barely my feet touches the ground. And since my weight, whole body weight was on my wrist, if I tried to move, it was like I would be impaled by the iron inside my anus.
Who did that to you?
Alaji Martin, Lance Kapur Senghor, Malafi Kaur, and Ndour.
What do you mean by impaled? I know the word, I know the meaning.
Yeah, this was like if I bring my weight down on my feet, it picks me right inside my anus. So I am forced to stay exactly where I am on my wrist at the ceiling like this.
And being impaled means that the stick or the metal rod would pierce through your body
Exactly.
and come out from your head.
This is what
if you were to fall down directly into onto that road.
Exactly.
How about castration? Do you hear anything about that? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah. This was a repetition of what they asked us to do. That means I have to have sex with Sadibu Hydra and Sadibu with me. And since we refused, they said, they said, okay, then we will castrate you, since you don't want to have sex together with each other. And this was the time they started with Hydra. They forced him down on the ground. They put an iron bar under his testicles. And Maleficor took the claw pen Warrington hammer. And then they force bit the muscles on the testicles, or inside the testicles. And I am not a doctor at the time. I am not a medical personnel at the time. But if you were today, I would definitely say the cause of Sadibu's death was from that. Because thereafter, he bled up to the day he died. Nostrils, ears, anus, penis, everything was blood.
Who did that to him?
This is Alaji Martin, Lance Kapul, Senghor, Malafikor, and Dur.
Your testimony is that Sadibu died from this torture.
I would say that.
Who killed him?
This would be from these tortures, Malafikor, Lance Kapul, Senghor, Alaji Martin, and Dur.
Your testimony is that Sadibu Haidara was murdered by Manlafikor, Alaji Martin, alias Lagos, Lamin Senghor.
Correct.
I have here a copy of the investigative report that was done by the NIA.
Okay.
It is part of the documents we received from the NIA. And it says, the caption is investigation report. I am passing a photocopy to the chairman, and I'll be reading from the original. It says investigation report on the sudden death of Captain Sadibu Haidara.
Okay.
Would you agree to that headline?
No, totally not.
And it went on to say as follows. On Saturday, 3rd June 1995, Captain Sadibu Haidara, a former Minister of the Interior and member of the AFPRC, who on Friday, 27th January 1995 was detained at Mile 2 prisons along with 26 others for their alleged attempt on the life of AFPRC chairman and head of state, Captain Yahya AJJ Jammeh, in an attempt to seize power, died in his cell in the remand wing at Mile 2. The aim of the report is to highlight the outcome of the investigations into the sudden death of Sadibu Haidara. And the case history suggests that the late ex-captain Sadibu Haidara met his death on Saturday, 3rd June 1995, while in his cell at the remand wing due to an illness. And it says, according to the investigations, the late Sadibu, for the past years, had been complaining of hypertension. During his dissension too, he complained of fever and revealed he was a hypertension patient. Is that true?
I have many points of correction on this information. One, Sadibu never complained of any high blood issues. Two, he didn't die at the remand wing in the State Central Prison. He died in security wing number 1 in cell number 9, exactly at 1600 hours 17, in my hands.
Let me read out the findings of the report.
And he died on the 6th, not on the 3rd.
Thank you very much for that. How come you still recall this date?
This date, I will never forget it in my life. Yeah.
The findings of the report, it says as follows. A thorough investigation was made to find out about Sadibu Haidara's death. There is no evidence of foul play being detected, and during the post-mortem, he was found to be well-built, well-nourished, and no external signs of injury was detected too. He was just found to have had oedema hypertension and multiple liver problems. The results of the post-mortem exercise has specified the cause of death. Conclusion. Sadibu Haidara is therefore deemed to have died on a natural death while in detention at remand wing in Mile 2. Signed by investigative officers J.B. Mendy and Fodebari. Is this report true?
It's totally false. It's a fabrication. For me, if the doctor who made the post-mortem wrote this information to these two officers, his license to operate as a medical personnel should have been revoked immediately.
It's a cover-up.
Exactly.
Officially, the government claimed that Sadibu Haidara died of natural causes, a sudden illness, they said. But those who were there knew the truth. The doctor's report was changed, rewritten to protect those in power. The real cause of death was buried with him. For years, the truth was hidden behind official lies. But the TRC brought it back to light. Through the pain of one survivor, a nation learned the price of silence. He who survives must speak for those who cannot.
Sadibu died in my hands 1600 hours 17 on the 6th of June.
Or the 3rd, which one?
It's not on the 3rd, it's on the 6th. We prayed 2 o'clock prayers. We were waiting for 5 o'clock prayers. I and LF Jame were playing Scrabble, and Sadibu went back into his cell and laid down. And then he called me. I came, and he was lying down on his back, and he said, "Help me, I'm seeing my grandmother." I said to him, "Yeah, you are seeing your grandmother, but you are in Mile 2 here. Do not worry, we'll go out of this place alive." And all of a sudden, I saw the eyes were changing, and I knew he was nearing his death. But still I kept with him. And then he asked me, "What do you do with people who didn't understand where you stand for them?" Meaning the council members who betrayed us. And he told me, there's a verse in the Holy Quran which deals with forgiveness. Let us forgive them. And then he asked me to read Surah Yasin for him, and we did. I did rather. And then I called Babu Kanjai, I called Ablai Bojang, he was a prison officer, who was the sergeant who was in charge of us. Then I called the two, and then they came. I told them, help me to lay him down properly on his back. And we laid him properly on his back. And I asked Njai to go out and Ablai Bojang to go out. And I stayed with him until he breathed his last. exactly 1600 hours 17 on the 6th of June.
You did not forget
No,
even a second in that time.
no. Because immediately he passed out, he closed his eyes. I closed his eyes. I asked Guy to tell me the time. And he told me exactly it was 1600 hours 17.
You did not want to forget that time.
No, I can't
ever
forget
in your
that
life.
time. I can't. Sadhu is part of me. And he will ever remain to be part of me.
Yes, I mean, if your wife wants to come and assist, she can. Feel
No, it's
free.
okay. I can carry on. It's okay.
Thank you.
I can carry on. Now I come back to my own
Yes,
frustration.
yes.
When Sadhu passed out in these tortures, I'm not talking about his death now, but I did.
At the time of the torture.
Exactly.
Yes.
They were confused, but they never stopped. And then they put him aside. And then I was brought in, forced on the ground. They put the same iron bar under my testicles. And Malafi came with his hammer again. And he started beating the muscles that joins the testicles and the other sexual organs within the body. I think at one point I also got blackout, pass out. And since the day on until I discharged, we got no medical attention. When I left the prisons, my fear came true that I had sexual dysfunction from these tortures. Of course, I underwent through medical treatment for all these years. And thank God, it has completely not healed, but better.
They attempted to castrate you.
Exactly.
Mr. Sabally, how do you feel that you've gone through all these types of torture in the hands of your former colleagues and your brothers in force, your brothers in arms? How do you feel?
I felt betrayed in as much as I had done nothing. The accusation in quotation, yeah, I felt betrayed completely.
We have had testimony that this was poetic justice. You had tortured people.
Okay.
It was your turn to be tortured.
Exactly.
That is the way it goes.
Exactly. What goes around
What-
comes around.
Or what exactly? What do you say to that?
Correct.
Do you regret the tortures that you meted out on other people?
I do, wholeheartedly. I wish I knew at the time what I know today, and what I learned in the prisons, I wish I had known it before. Meaning, in the prisons, as I always say, it's the last university for me in the world. I had learned wisdom, humility, patience, and understanding. And that's why I came out of prison not bitter, but better. And I had forgiven all of them.
That is deeply profound. You came out not bitter,
Nay,
but better.
exactly.
Deeply profound. What do you harbor in your heart for those people who meted out this gruesome torture on you?
I had nothing against them. For Malafikor, we saw in the prison before I discharged. At one point, he came, I think he fell out with Jame, and he was sent out of the State House back to Fajara Barracks. And once he came with Lieutenant Combo, and when Combo came, normally he must come with an escort. Out of curiosity, I asked, where are your escorts? He said, it's your class, meaning Malafikor. I said, where is he? He said, he's at cell number 4. And then I said, why not you call him to come in? And then he went and forced him to come. And when he came, I said, but why didn't you come to our cell number 1 when you are the escort to Lieutenant Combo? He stood down. I said, we know each other from the training. What you have meted on me, I knew you would have done it alone. You were sent. But you have done your bit. I have forgiven you. And since then, yeah, why not we became good friends? Each time he came, we talked. And it was along this line that he revealed most of these things, that whenever they were torturing me, beside the tape recorder, they had filmed it on video. And they had shown it to Jame to watch. But as I said, this part I cannot confirm.
What happened to my man Lafikor ultimately?
I don't know where he is exactly.
He's dead.
Oh. May God
You never have?
may God have mercy on his soul. I never heard he's dead. Oh, yeah.
What do you feel about Alaji Martin?
If I see him also, I would forgive him. I have nothing against them. Absolutely nothing. Even Jame, as I said, when I left the prison, the day I left the prison, right at the main gate, I had said it clearly. I have forgiven him.
But your ordeal did not stop after your conviction.
Yeah, klar. It will not stop. I knew it would not stop. But I don't have to live in that situation. I have to find a better future.
Well, tell us about the attempts to have you poisoned.
Okay.
For the first time, Sana SABALLY confronted not only his pain, but his guilt. The same cruelty he once inflicted had returned to him. Once, he was one of the most feared men in the Gambia, a young soldier burning with ambition who believed he could save a nation with the barrel of a gun. But power is a heavy crown. It blinded him as it blinded many. Betrayed by his own brothers, tortured by the very system he helped create, Sana SABALLY came face to face with the truth of his own hands. In that dark cell, he learned what true power means, not power over others. At the TRC, his voice trembled. His tears spoke louder than his words. And there, in front of a nation, he said the words few men of power ever say, but power over oneself. What goes around comes around, and I accept it, because I too have hurt others. But from pain came awakening, from guilt came forgiveness. He forgave his torturers, he forgave his brothers, and in that forgiveness he found peace. He once carried a gun, now he carries a message to the next generation. Do not fight your brothers. Do not let power blind you. Lead with mercy. Lead with truth. Because power without mercy is destruction, and truth without forgiveness is incomplete. Today, his story is more than a confession. It is a warning and a promise that never again will Gambians destroy each other in the name of power. He was once a soldier of fear. Now he is a soldier of peace. The past is not meant to divide us. It is meant to guide us. This is the story of Sana SABALLY, from power to redemption. This marks the end of part 5, but the story continues. To watch our full documentary, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We share untold stories across Africa. Thanks for watching.